Hey boys, it's HarmNone. We're going to be going over 10 vehicles that every player should own in Grand Theft Auto Online in 2022. Now I've already done one of these videos before, however some new vehicles have been released since I made the last video, so I felt like I should probably remake the video because there have been quite a few changes that have been made to the game, so the ordering is a little bit different. There's some new vehicles on this list compared to last time. I'm excited to show you guys. Let's get into it. We're going to go ahead and start off with number 10. Starting off at number 10, we of course have the Pegassi Torero XO. Now this was just added into the game with the Criminal Enterprises DLC, and I feel like it's one of the best cars that you can have in Grand Theft Auto Online right now. Now there is something about this car that is a little bit broken that I will warn you guys about right off the bat. That is the spoiler options on this car do not provide any actual downforce to the vehicle, which means the handling is not as good as it technically should be. However, if this thing did have some downforce modifications that actually did work, it would be one of the fastest supercars in the game. That's not to say that it isn't, but it would be higher up in the rankings. I would estimate that the Torero XO is within the top 10 fastest supercars around a track even without the downforce, and in a straight line this thing is an absolute rocket. I'm on PC, so I can't show you guys what this thing is like on current gen, and there are faster cars on current gen consoles, like the Ignis HSW for example, but I feel like the Torero XO is a good middle ground between that car and some of the other cars from last gen, and some all-new customization features that are brand new into Grand Theft Auto Online that are on this car pretty much exclusively. So that's pretty much it for the Pegassi Torero XO. It goes for $2.9 million, and I would say it's worth every penny. So that's it for number 10. Let's move on to number 9. At number 9, we have the Insurgent Pickup Custom. Now, the Insurgent Pickup Custom is one of the better armored vehicles in Grand Theft Auto Online, and it's a great one to own. This thing can seat 9 players inside of it, which is an absolute ton, so if you have a lot of friends that you play with, the Insurgent Pickup Custom is a great vehicle to pick up. If you have everything unlocked in the bunker research, you can also equip this thing with a proximity mine dropper, which you can obviously drop proximity mines behind you and blow up anybody who's chasing you. In addition to that, obviously it has the mounted machine gun on the top of the vehicle. I have the mounted minigun, but the machine gun is actually better from what I hear, so I would go ahead and just leave it stock. That thing on the top of it absolutely shreds people. It destroys vehicles super quickly. It's very accurate as well, and it has pretty good range. Of course, all the players inside of the Insurgent can shoot out of the vehicle so long as it does not have heavy armor equipped. Mine unfortunately does have heavy armor equipped, so I can't show you what it looks like to shoot out of this thing, but you can probably get the general idea of it because it functions pretty much the same as every other car in this game. Now the Insurgent armor-wise can take 27 homing rockets from an Oppressor Mark II, and it can take 8 to 10 RPGs depending on where on the vehicle it actually gets hit. So it's pretty well armored, it's pretty fast, it's got good protection for the gunner, and it can seat a lot of players. The last thing about the Insurgent that I should mention is it's an absolute battering ram. If there's something that's in your way and you want it out of your way, the Insurgent will do that for you. As you guys can see, none of these cars are able to even pretty much stop me. They barely even slow the vehicle down, and of course I can just drive over top of them if I need to. So the Insurgent Pickup Custom, pretty good vehicle. You will need to buy the regular Insurgent, upgrade it in the MOC, and all totaled, in order to get the Insurgent Pickup Custom without any additional upgrades, it's going to cost you about $1.6 million. That's pretty much it for the Insurgent Pickup Custom at number 9. Let's move on to number 8. Next up at number 8, we have the Benefactor Terrorbyte. Now the Terrorbyte is an interesting vehicle. This is the second most armored vehicle in Grand Theft Auto Online, so that is a pretty good feature. Obviously the Terrorbyte itself is not that fast of a vehicle. It's really not that remarkable in any other sort of stat other than that it's the second most armored. This thing can take about 34 homing missiles from an Oppressor Mark II, which is pretty impressive. That's really its only notable feature. It's not exactly fast. It's pretty huge. I mean, that's about it, for the outside of it at least. Now when we enter into the Terrorbyte, there is a few more things in here that are pretty useful. Of course, it gives you access to a weapon workshop where you can upgrade your default weapons into Mark II variants, which is nice to have. Obviously, Mark II weapons are kind of better than Mark I weapons. In addition to that, it has this touch screen that you can access right here. And from here, you can launch several different types of missions. You can source vehicle cargo, you can source gun running supplies, you can source biker supplies, you can source special cargo, air freight cargo, and you can of course launch client jobs as well. These jobs pay pretty decently for what they are, so they're a good way to make some early money in the game if you don't have a lot. Special cargo sourcing and vehicle cargo sourcing is also semi-useful. Unfortunately, gun running supplies and biker supplies cannot be bought. You can only launch the steal missions from within the Terrorbyte, so it's not that useful for that. And of course, the Terrorbyte does allow you to own the unholy Oppressor Mark II. If you use this thing, please don't be a griefing scumbag with it, but it is pretty useful. So that's pretty much it for the Terrorbyte, guys. I know it's not the most exciting vehicle, but it is a good one to own in GTA Online these days. It has a few unique features which make it pretty worth owning, but other than that, it's kind of forgettable, hence it being so high up on this list. Anyways, that's it for number 8. Let's move on to number 7. Next up, at number 7, we have the Akula. Now, the Akula is a helicopter that I really like in Grand Theft Auto Online. It's actually my favorite helicopter, and it has a couple of really unique features. So first of all, of course, it is a 4-seater, which is pretty unique for a lot of attack helicopters in Online, so that is nice to have. It also has something very unique to this helicopter, which is of course stealth mode. So stealth mode, if you go into it, it disables your ability to use any sort of weapons that the Akula has at its disposal. And when you do disable the weapons and turn it into stealth mode, you become completely invisible on the map. So if there's other players in this session, right now they could not even see me because I am in stealth mode. The only way that they could see me is if they actually physically see my helicopter. But as far as the radar goes, they will not be able to find me. So this is obviously pretty huge for moving heist prep equipment, for example, or if you want to get up to Paleto Bay without being noticed, the Akula is really, really good for that. In addition to this, it is also one of the top 5 fastest helicopters in Grand Theft Auto Online, and when you're going at full speed, the Akula does like to climb, which helps to get altitude very, very quickly, instead of slowly going down and crashing into the ground, which some helicopters in this game do, and I don't really like that. As far as weaponry goes, I have my Akula equipped with homing missiles. You can also equip it with a 4-missile barrage. The homing missiles are spammable, by the way. You can just simply hold down the shoot button and they will keep shooting. There's really no delay in between sets of missiles, so that is really nice. In addition to this, the Akula also has access to a bomb bay, which of course you can drop bombs, and they are, pretty hard to aim, but they are pretty good, I have to say. And of course, you do have access to dual-mounted machine guns on the side of the Akula. These things don't do very much damage, but they are kind of good, I guess. So sometimes they can be worth using. As far as your co-pilot goes, he gets access to an optional dual-mounted front minigun turret. Now this is an option to have 2 miniguns. By default, it does have 1, so no matter what, your co-pilot is going to get access to some sort of weaponry, which is kind of nice to have. Now his guns don't do very much damage either, but they are still there, so you can put some more fire down range, which is occasionally useful. So that's pretty much it for the Akula, one of the best helicopters in Grand Theft Auto Online, if not the best helicopter in Online in my opinion. I would definitely recommend checking this thing out, it is super, super good. With that being said, let's move on to number 6. Next up at number 6, we have the best vehicle in Grand Theft Auto Online as far as bang for your buck goes. The Canis Seminole goes for $30,000 and it is truly one of the best vehicles in Grand Theft Auto Online, if not the best vehicle. The only reason that it's ranked this high is because I want more people to know about it. The Canis Seminole, $30,000, and it is faster than the weaponized Pegassi Ignis, but the Seminole is a super unknown and underrated car in Grand Theft Auto Online. It can be bought on Southern San Andreas Super Autos. It can also be stolen, but if you do that, you're taking the Seminole away from somebody else who bought one, which is just not right. It's also the most armored vehicle in all of Grand Theft Auto Online, being able to absorb 300 plus homing missiles from the Oppressor Mark II, which is absolutely insane. With the Criminal Enterprises DLC, it is also equipable with Imani Tech. Therefore, it can have a missile lock-on jammer or a remote control device. Really, really great and useful features, in addition to everything else that the Seminole already has going for it. Obviously, it's one of the best looking cars in the entire game. Unfortunately, it doesn't have much customization, but who really needs it when the car is this dashing looking anyways? So go ahead and pick up a Canis Seminole fully upgraded for $30,000. You cannot go wrong with one of these things. It's an absolute unit. Off-road especially, it is absolutely unrivaled. So with that being said, let's move on to number 5. Next up at number 5, we have the Kasatka submarine. Now obviously the Kasatka submarine gives you access to the Cayo Perico heist, which was formerly the best way to make money in Grand Theft Auto Online. Still technically per hour, it is pretty much unrivaled. You cannot make more money in one single hour of GTA than you can with the Cayo Perico heist. However, there is a cooldown in between heists now, which has kind of nerfed it. Now within the Kasatka, you get several different very useful things, like these missiles that you can launch right out of the Kasatka and control with your controller or with your mouse. These are super cool. As you guys can see, I have control over this thing right now, and I can slam it into any unsuspecting car that is just simply cruising down the highway and ruin their life. So that's a cool feature. It also has access to this periscope, which you can shoot missiles out of somehow, don't ask me how that works. And you can lock onto pesky Mark IIs or anybody that's coming to try to attack your Kasatka, and you should be able to shoot them down with this thing. The missiles are pretty good. They are a little bit slow, but generally they work pretty well. Like I mentioned before, you get access to the Cayo Perico heist. Yes, that is the Panther statue. No, I don't do the replay glitch. And you can, of course, drive the Kasatka as well as fast travel. Fast travel is super useful. You can get around the map insanely quick with this. And of course, driving the Kasatka itself is pretty fun. Whatever you do, don't go below 500 feet though, because then the submarine will get crushed. In addition to all of the other features with the Kasatka, we of course have the Sparrow inside of this thing that you can buy, which is really useful. As well as downstairs in the Kasatka, you can also park 2 other vehicles, one of them being your moon pool vehicle, which I have my Toreador in here, and then I also have my Avisa submarine. So the Kasatka is very useful. You can have a lot of different vehicles in here. You can make money with it, you can sail it around, you can also fast travel. It's a very useful vehicle in general, so that's why it's on the list. Next up at number 4, we have another vehicle that is to do with the Kasatka. This is of course the Sparrow, and in order to own it, you are going to need the Kasatka. Now the good thing about the Sparrow is it can be spawned literally right beside you at any point from your Kasatka service menu. Simply go into the interaction menu, go to services, go to your Kasatka, and then request the Sparrow, and it will spawn right beside you every single time. Now the Sparrow is equipable with homing missiles or of course mounted machine guns. Homing missiles are the better option though, of course. I mean, it makes complete sense. The Sparrow is also one of the fastest helicopters in the entire game. It is of course only a 2-seater unfortunately, but it doesn't really need to be a 4-seater because it's just so damn good anyways. Now purchasing the Sparrow in addition to the Kasatka will run you quite a bit of money, somewhere in the neighborhood of about $4 million, which is rather expensive, but it is a worthy cost I would say, because having the ability to spawn this thing right beside you at any point is very nice. Overall, the Sparrow is super useful. I use mine all the time. I know a lot of people use theirs. You can enter right into the Kasatka with this thing as well, so if you're doing Cayo Perico heist prep and stuff like that, you can get right into the sub right away just by simply flying above it. Overall, the Sparrow is very useful. I would highly recommend picking this thing up, but it's not the most useful out of all the vehicles available to buy right now in Grand Theft Auto Online. So let's move on to number 3. Up next, we have the Pegassi Oppressor Mark II. Now this thing has since moved up on my best vehicles list because this thing has been nerfed recently, meaning that the missiles are a little bit worse than they used to be, which is honestly a really good thing. In addition to that, the countermeasures on this have been nerfed. However, the vehicle is still really useful for getting around the map. It's just less useful for griefing people now, so I respect it a little bit more. The Oppressor Mark II is a rather expensive vehicle. Without the trade price, it's going to run you almost $4 million in order to buy this, and in order to customize it, you're also going to need a Terrorbyte like I mentioned before. So it is an expensive vehicle to own, however, you can use this vehicle to make yourself a lot of money in this game. So it is a really helpful vehicle. The only thing that I ask of you guys, if you are planning on buying one of these, or using it in general, please just don't be a griefing scumbag with it. We have enough of those in online and we don't need any more. Of course, the homing missiles on this thing are still absolutely cracked. They're just a little bit worse than they used to be, but they can still kill pretty much anything you need them to kill, so I guess that's kind of good. So that's pretty much it for the Oppressor Mark II. Let's move on to the vehicle at number 2. Up next at number 2, we have the MOC, or the Mobile Operations Center. Now in order to own this vehicle, you are going to need to get a bunker, which is kind of an expensive business, but you can make a lot of money with it as well, so it's pretty useful. Now inside of your MOC, you of course have a custom vehicle workshop where you can upgrade vehicles like the Insurgent Pickup Custom that was previously mentioned on this list. You can also upgrade vehicles like the Night Shark, vehicles like the Menacer as well, and the Half Track, as well as many more. As well as in the MOC, you get access to a weapon workshop as well, so you can upgrade your weapons to the Mark II variants of them, or make adjustments and customizations to your weapons as well, so very useful. In addition to that, your MOC does also come equipped with some weapons that can be used on it. So you get access to these like grenade launcher turrets, which are absolutely insane. They do a lot of damage. You can insta-kill cars with them and stuff like that. They do have a bit of a time delay on how fast they shoot, but they are really, really good nonetheless, and they do have infinite ammo. The main reason that I recommend this vehicle is because of the truck that actually tows the trailer. This is of course the Phantom Custom. You can of course use the Hauler Custom as well for your MOC, however the reason that I like the Phantom is because in my opinion I think it's a little bit better looking, and I think that it might even be a little bit faster. Now the main reason that I'm talking about this truck is because of its armor. The armor on the Phantom Custom as well as the Hauler Custom, whatever is towing your MOC, is able to take 67 to 70 homing rockets from an Oppressor Mark II and a lot of RPGs. It is also a pretty fast vehicle, and another great feature about it is because of its armor ability, you can also turn this thing around and you can shoot out the back of it. As you guys can see, I can hit this civilian right here with my AP pistol. However, you cannot be shot through the back of this truck because there is no window to shoot through. So none of these bullets actually do end up penetrating the truck at all, and you are completely safe so long as you have your back to whoever you're fighting against, whereas they are not safe from you because obviously you can shoot straight out the back anyways. This is a really, really overpowered vehicle, and with all the rockets that it can take, you really cannot go wrong with owning an MOC. One of the best vehicles for free mode, and one of the best vehicles for survivability and defense against griefers and other people who are just trying to kill you. Overall, the MOC is super, super useful, and it's not that much money. I think it goes for about 1.5 million all totaled up. I'm sure if you do a lot of cosmetic options and stuff like that, you can run that up a little bit more, but for the most part, it's relatively affordable. Obviously, you will need to own the bunker though. So that's it for number 2. Let's move on to the number 1 vehicle that everybody should own in Grand Theft Auto Online in 2022. The number 1 vehicle that I recommend picking up in Grand Theft Auto Online right now is of course the Bravado Buffalo STX. This thing is within the muscle car category, and it goes for about $1.6 million once you have the trade price unlocked, making it pretty affordable. Now the interesting thing with this is it has the ability to be upgraded with Imani tech features, so its main selling point is this thing can have a missile lock-on jammer. So if an Oppressor Mark II comes after you, they will not be able to get a lock onto your car, and they will have to shoot you with free aim, which if you know Oppressor users, they're not that good with free aim rockets most of the time, especially against a moving target. In addition to this, you can also armor the car, like you guys can see on mine. I have some armor on this thing. It allows you to take 4 RPGs and between 6 to 10 Oppressor Mark II missiles if they do manage to hit you. So it has pretty good armor protection. The missile lock-on jammer is super huge. It also has a remote control device which allows you to remotely control your vehicle, and it is of course equipable with front-mounted machine guns as well. Now the front-mounted machine guns do quite a lot of damage, I will say. These things are really, really good. As you guys can see, I'm absolutely destroying this Fathom FQ2. Oh man, that's just an unfortunate sight. I'm sorry, it had to happen. Now, in addition to this, the Bravado Buffalo STX is also within the muscle car category, and as of right now, before the new Camaro has released into Grand Theft Auto Online, this is still the fastest muscle car around a track in the game. Now, before people start commenting that the Hellfire's faster and all this stuff, I'm talking about on a circuit with corners. The Hellfire will not touch an STX on a circuit. That's all I'm going to say. So, this is the number 1 fastest muscle car for racing around circuits in Grand Theft Auto Online. It also has Imani tech, it's got armor, it's got front-mounted machine guns. It also has an oil slick proximity mine dropper on the back as well, which is really, really useful as well. So overall, the Bravado Buffalo STX is the best car in Grand Theft Auto Online in my opinion right now. I don't think that there's any cars that are technically better than this thing. The only thing that you can maybe argue is the weaponized Ignis HSW, but I don't even have access to that, so I couldn't put it on the list if I wanted to anyways. So anyway guys, that is it for the Bravado Buffalo STX. This is definitely the car that I recommend picking up the most in online right now. It is an absolute unit. So there you have it guys, those are the 10 vehicles that I recommend picking up the most in Grand Theft Auto Online in 2022 so far. If you guys enjoyed this video, if you found it useful at all, a like is of course appreciated, if not dislike, subscribe if you guys are new, and I will see you all in the next video. Until then, take care. Peace.